Wow, there are so many participants who have joined us here online and offline today.
That's right. And I
Support
see
it, support
that
it.
there's a lot of participants joining us on the Zoom.
Yeah, it seems like many participants have already joined us as well, but we're still waiting for the others to join us as well on Zoom and of course offline as well.
Right. Anyway, the committee will provide you with attendance link in the chat box. The link is for online participants only. So, while waiting for the other participants to join us, you may fill in the link. We will wait for maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes is enough, yeah?
While waiting for the other participants to fill in the link, we would like to inform something, guys.
What is that?
Is this maybe a good news for everyone's here? We would like to inform that there will be a lot of prizes to best participant. So don't forget to be active.
Yeah, so don't forget to be active. Okay, for the participants, we fill in the participants link and it will be dropped on the chat box on Zoom.
Yeah, don't forget to fill in the link.
Masuk belum suaranya?
Okay, while waiting, I think the participants is now filling the link of attendance. And right now, without any further ado, I guess our participants have to know us at the very first hand, yeah, Shiva?
Absolutely. I'm
I'm
Shiva
Shiva
Kusuma,
Kusuma,
and
and
today
today
I'm
I'm
not
not
alone
alone
because
because
I
I
will
will
be
be
accompanied
accompanied
by
by
my
my
special
special
partner.
partner.
I'm
I'm
Nata
Natalie
Putunavidi,
Putunavidi,
and
and
will
will
be
be
your
your
master
master
of
of
ceremony
ceremony
today.
today.
Masuk jari,
We are very
jari
grateful,
masuk ini.
honored, and happy to get this chance to accompany the participants through this event today.
And welcome to the
Visiting
visiting
professor,
professor
getting
getting
closer
closer
to
to
pathogenic
pathogenic
parasites
parasites
causing
causing
public
public
health
health
threats
threats
in
in
the
the
community.
community.
Okay, before we go any further, let's pray together. Prayer begins. Prayer ends.
Let's greet our amazing people that are here with us today. The
The
Honorable
Honorable
Dean
Dean
of
of
Public
Public
Health
Health
Faculty,
Faculty,
Universitas
Universitas
Diponegoro,
Diponegoro,
Associate
Associate
Professor
Professor
Dr.
Bos
Dr.
King, di
Purnomo
zoom
Purnomo
in, zoom in,
SPC,
Bos King,
MPH.
zoom in. Biasa.
the Honorable Head of Epidemiologi and Tropical
Udun
Disease
jadi, udun jadi,
Department,
udun kebelakang
Dr.
zoom.
Martini, MPH,
The
the
Honorable
Honorable
Vice
Vice
Deans
Deans
and
and
all
all
of
of
the
the
academic
academic
staff
staff
of
of
Public
Public
Health
Health
Faculty,
Faculty,
Universitas
Universitas
Diponegoro.
Diponegoro,
The
the
Honorable
Honorable
Speakers
Speakers
today,
today,
Professor
Professor
Harjindi,
Harjindi,
Professor
Professor
Choi
Choi
Sooju,
Sooju,
and
and
also
also
our
our
Zoom
Vice
out,
Vice
zoom
Provost
out, zoom
Dr.
out, zoom
Dr.
out,
Dr.
zoom
Jung
out.
Jung.
네, 안녕하세요. 잘 지내셨어요?
And all of our dearest participants of this event.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, next up, we're going to sing the words. I'm sorry. I would like to invite everyone to stand up in your own place, and we're going to sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya.
Bos King zoom yang itu, yang sama kayak tadi nggak usah zoom mas, itu kayak tadi aja. Bahwa nanti kamu peserta aja yang di zoom. Aduh ketutupannya. Nah itu. Udah situ aja. Bos King itu, kemudian sini Bos King. Ikut share screen itu, share screen. Terus play.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahmu. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibumu. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsa bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya, bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Next, we are going to sing the march of Universitas Diponegoro's Public Health Faculty. Dr. Committee, please play the song. You may be seated.
Gak usah. Neng MC nih. Wes rasa. Kurang zoom out.
Alright, to begin this session, we will hear a brief speech from the head of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease Department, Dr. Martini, MPH. To Dr. Martini, we invite you to the stage.
Bro, gue langsung neng mimbar. Langsung geser neng mimbar. Nah, mana.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Hop.
The Honorable of the Dean of Public Health Faculty, the Honorable our experts from NTNT and Prof. John, I'm sorry to spell your name, it's very difficult. And then team, Dr. Jun, and then the respectable coordinator the workshop today, Dr. Muhammad Fauzi, and also Magister of Public Health, and then all of the students at this building. Assalamualaikum
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, of all
Saja kembangan itu
the
kan.
experts and also the student and the sporting team. Alhamdulillah, the words that I said to yeah, us gratitude toward God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, mainly for the love and blessing, so that we can meet offline and online on this scientific meeting of the workshop today. It is a wonderful opportunity that we can come here and then hear all on the information, scientific information, and things. The topic today of this workshop, and then previous session with the general lecture with the experts about the getting closer to pathogenic parasites causing public health threats in our community. It is a very important topic that we should know about it, and also the comprehensive of information that you can get our experts. Yeah, thank you once again to Prof. Hansin's here and the team, Prof. to Saint June, and then Dr. June about your visiting here, that you share about the topic, and I hope not stop this event. I hope also about the next collaboration of you. Yeah, maybe until we can get collaboration in publication. Yeah, about the tropical disease and also the infection disease. That is very interesting, and from the Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease. Yeah, that is our yeah will about the collaboration. Today, we mobilize us of our students in the interest of epidemiology and also entomology. Yeah, we have maybe around 100 students from epidemiology, but the rest of the interest of many health, public health entomology. We just have five students of entomology here. It is difficult to recruit to the students, yeah, interest with the entomology field. Yeah, I don't know about it. I think entomology is very interesting and have yeah many chance and opportunity, yeah, to develop the science of entomology. And then I want to add about my speak here. It is great pleasure for me to welcome you all and the expert and our student here. I'm very thankful to Prof. Hen Jinte and Prof. Chu for your time and giving much the knowledge and scientific information. I also
Baik apa?
wish to thank the committee at here, the lecturer, and also the student that you organize and also coming this the great event. Okay, that's all my the yeah the preliminary speech to the guest lecturer today. Yeah, thank you. I think this is important to discuss, and I hope any the student can active discussing and also giving many questions to the experts. Yeah, after this. Yeah, thank you for your visiting and my student come here.
Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martini, for the brief speech. You may please return to your seat. And now, we would like to hear the opening speech from our dean. I would like to welcome Associate Professor Dr. Budiono BSPH, MPH, to the stage for giving us an opening speech and also to officially open this event.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear Prof. Han, Prof. Chu, and also Dr. Jun, thank you for coming here again. And the first year you've been here and give very fast lecture. Thank you very much. Participants, students from undergraduate program from Department of Entomology and Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, and also master degree level student of master degree in entomology, bachelor in entomology, and also then also the lecturers from the Faculty of Public Health, especially from the Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, and also entomology from the Magister of Environmental Health. And of course, because this is through platform, often an online, also maybe practitioners from other sectors, we would call the health agency maybe, and of course the committee of the workshop. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we know that the UNDIP is international program. One of the international programs is visiting professor. The aim of the international program is to support the world-class university of the Universitas Al-Azhar. So we also support the program. One of the activities is visiting professor by giving the lecture. We call it general lecture, and also in this session we will conduct the observation in relation regarding to the parasit, of course, especially malaria. Uh, Beside this program, also aim to increase the capacity of the students related to the malaria and also helpfully maybe I don't know, soil transmitted ailment and etc. And also competency of the student in field of the outbreak investigation. Okay, I think it's very interesting and very important for student to have so many knowledge and experience related to this field. The program will be designed into two parts. The first is general lecture and of course question and answer or discuss. And the second is observation of the morphology of the parasit in the laboratory related to the malaria parasit. And we are very lucky and we are very grateful because the experts from the Kampong time. Uh, but the expertise or experts from the Korea will give you the knowledge and experience instead of the malaria. So I hope you all of the student and also practitioner maybe and also lecturers have to ask a lot of questions. So you have to discuss actively. I think the MC already warn you to discuss active, alright? And I also want that the MC also work hard to learn about the foreign language, right? So, and I hope this workshop and also the lecture will be useful for us and especially for the students, of course, to elevate the capacity of the knowledge and also the experience or what we call competence of the student. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. With your permission and of course Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the God, this workshop with the title Getting Inclusion to Pathogenic Parasites Posing Public Health Threats in the Community officially open. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pudiono, for the speech, and now you may please return to your seats.
Okay, Shiva, do you know what next? Maybe a breakfast together? Oh, it's impossible for that. Okay, so after this, we want to do our favorite session, of course.
What is that, Natalia?
Okay, so we will have a pretest session. So you may prepare your device, and the pretest link will be shared on the
Apa?
screen by the committee. And the pretest link is mandatory to get a certificate, and it will give you
20 minutes?
Maybe it's only 10
10
minutes.
minutes, okay, okay.
10 minutes is enough. Okay, so
Ning zoom, ning zoom, ning
make
zoom
sure
wong liyane.
you submit
Ono
it on
suarane ora?
time.
The committee, please show the link on the screen.
Iki wis mlebu soalé. Suarane iki mlebu rene.
Okay, while waiting, the link is shown on the
Show on
screen.
the screen, yeah.
Please prepare your
Prepare your
device
device.
and with a stable connection to fill the
Pretest link.
test.
Yeah.
Okay, the link has already shown on the screen. And
For all of the
Participants,
participants,
you may access the link that is shown already on the screen.
and you may start now.
good luck all.
Good luck.
Habis ini bisa nggak dibukakan di share layarnya Zoom? Jadinya biar foto.
Spotlightnya dihilangi gitu. Oh iya, remove spotlight. Iya. Hmm? Si screen biar yang lain aja. Hmm.
Okay, while waiting for the offline participants to fill in the pre-test link, yeah,
We will do a photo session with the
of
online
online participants.
participants.
So, for the online
Zoom in, zoom
participants,
in.
they're going to
Open
open
your
your
camera.
camera. We're waiting here for the online participants to open your camera.
Basking mudun sithik. Mudun sithik.
Okay, I'll take the lead for the screenshot for the committee in charge. Please take a screenshot of the online participants. I'll count in three. One, two, three. Okay, thank you very much for our online participants.
And please give a round of applause for today's event.
Yeah.
Iki tapi saiki kan iki wis kotor nih. Di anu wae di head yourself. Head yourself. Head yourself.
Okay, while waiting, the participants fill in the link.
In the next session, we will be accompanied by our best moderator, who is also one of our lecturers. And before we ask him to get on the stage,
Ya,
we
zoom
will
in.
take a look
MC
at
ini
his
gede
CV.
geng, zoom in.
To the committee, please share the CV on the screen.
Okay, the moderator of the first session is Dr. Muhfauzi, BPH, MS, PhD. He's a lecturer in Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, Department of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. He has 7 years of experience in the wet lab, working on malaria vaccine development, and has participated in a lot of training programs.
Yeah, that's right. And observing from the CV, he's very much well experienced in the research field, right, Shiva?
Right.
Okay, and he has a lot of achievements and publications, including his recent publication in 2022 about Plasmodium knowledge genome. Without any further ado, please welcome our moderator for the first topic today, Dr. Fauzi.
Terus geng. Terus Fauzi. Wes paten itu share screen itu.
Okay, thank you very much for having me this morning.
Tut mau.
Before we begin to our session this morning, thank you very much for Dr. Budiono for coming to our event, and for the honorable speakers. Thank you so much for coming over to Semarang from South Korea. It's really our pleasure to have you guys coming again to this faculty. Okay, before we begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Fauzi, and I'm a junior lecturer at the Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Diseases, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. So, before
I called the speaker. I would like to thank to all participants for coming over to this event. Also, for this morning sessions, we have Professor Han Chin Hee. He is a young professor and is very, very talented person. And also, he's coming over from South Korea, from Kano National University. The exact place, he belongs to the College of Medicine, Kano National University. And no doubt, he's very talented with so many achievements in the research and publications. So, without further ado, I would like to invite him to come over to the stage with me, to accompany me, and then we will have brief introductions of him to make sure that you know him and also you know the expertise of him. Okay, so please welcome Professor Han Chin Hee to the stage. Yeah, he is Professor Han Chin Hee. Looks very young, with one talented. Yeah, and he's one of my friends, my teacher, and my best colleagues ever. And he helped me a lot with the research, with all the development that I have when I was studying my PhD in South Korea. So please welcome, have your seat here. So, committee, can you please show his CV? I would like to read a brief resume of his. Okay, yeah. This is the Professor Han Chin Hee CV. So I just want to read briefly. Yeah, he actually, no, he is 100% Korean, South Korean. Yes, so you can call it Opa. That's okay. Okay. Yeah. 안녕하세요. Okay. He's graduated from South Korea for the bachelor degree and then PhD also. We were in the same lab before, as chemical supervisor. He's not a professor, but I'm not yet. Okay. So, and then after he graduated in PhD, and then he got the postdoctoral fellowship in New Zealand under the positions of one of the best malaria experts in the world. Okay, and then yeah, thank you. And then if you read his publications, can you please scroll down, please? Okay, his publication quite a lot. Okay, publication quite a lot, and he produced lots of STI papers, also focus papers. So I hope that bringing him here will motivate and escalate our knowledge to produce more papers or more knowledge in malaria or in other fields. Okay, so after his talk, I would like to remind that all participants are given about 15 minutes for the question and answer session. Feel free to ask any questions. Please note there is no personal questions in this session. Okay, so Professor Han Chin Hee, you have 45 minutes. Yeah, I can say like maybe an hour for the extensions, and then after that we can continue for the question and answer sessions. Okay, is that okay? And I think I'm gonna give this mic to you because we have a trouble with our technical sounds in here. Okay, so please welcome Professor Han Chin Hee.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you. May I stand here? I think that is better. Otherwise, if I sit there, you will still just look at me as breeze. Alright? Okay, so thank you so much. This is really, really a wonderful introduction you for me. So, yes, I'm a scientist in Korea. I work in the Foundation University, University School of Medicine, and my major is of course malaria. So today I'm gonna talk about the steroid malaria parasite. Can you please next slide? Please change the next slide. For the next? Ah, sorry. No, not yet. Yeah, already the Paul, Dr. Paul introduced about me very well, so maybe I just skip for this. Okay, so have some experience in the New Zealand about the malaria. So at the master and PhD course I'm working on, the biovax of malaria inclusion mechanism is deep and deep molecular biology. And when I moved to the New Zealand, I focused on the senior malaria invasion mechanism also. And as a professor now, I focus on just combine together and the biovax and the not biovax, human malaria, and also the simian malaria just work on together. So now I'm mostly focused on the invasion biology, especially the red blood cell region of the nerve. Okay, next slide. Yeah, today I'm gonna give a lecture as a brief view about the malaria basic knowledge. So let's begin from the history. Okay, so as we know that the Plasmodium falciparum is one of the malaria parasite species. We knew they existed from the 100,000 years ago. It's quite, yes. And after that, first time that literally they record in the paper from Latin, that is 1829. The first time they describe about the malaria and the symptoms. So from the Latin, actually the Italy, so Italy word they call the malaria, but English is bad air. Because at the moment when people just know about the infectious disease, just when they go to this warm region, some people getting sick, so they think that is because of the air. So the malaria, actually the meaning is bad air. Yes. And 1880, the first times that one of the scientists, Alfonso Rabiran, he observed the parasite inside of the red blood cell, the human. So at the moment, first time, the people exactly see the parasite in the human red blood cells. And, and next, almost 20 years later, 1897, one of the scientists, Ronald Rose, he found the complete life cycle of the malaria. So the malaria, not because of the bad air, it's because of the mosquito. So he found that the mosquito also have that malaria parasite. So at the moment, we are exactly know how this plasmodium species, malaria, can occur in the human. Okay. And 1917, one of the scientists, Yauren, he tried to treatment to the dementia paralytica patient just inoculate the malaria parasite because after infecting the malaria parasite, the patient have a fever. So by this fever, they want to cure this patient. But anyway, nowadays it's impossible to do that. But at the moment it's possible. Anyway, he tried that and successfully cured the patient. And most recent, in 1977, the new anti-malaria drug discovered by two UU, a Chinese woman, we call it artemisinin, is the drug. So the malaria have here as four Nobel Prize, yes, the Nobel Prize. So maybe, yes, the malaria is how much we think this is important for the human being, right? Okay, next please. Yes, sir. Let's start. What is the malaria? The malaria is simply, I'm just summary about malaria. Malaria is a disease name caused by Plasmodium species. Okay, so yes, what is the Plasmodium species? Right? So Plasmodium species, that is a parasite unicellular organism. So also we call the protozoan parasite. So important thing is they are single cell organisms. So you can see the sporozoid and merozoid form of the malaria. That is Plasmodium species. They can transform the morphology to sporozoid, the merozoid. And the major actor, the definitive host is the anomalous mosquito, so they produce the sporozoid. And when they are biting the human, the sporozoid transmitted to the human, and human can produce the merozoid. So human is actually the intermediate host. Let's see more exactly in the next slide. Yes, this is the morphology of the sporozoid and merozoid. The sporozoid size is just about 9 micrometer. It's quite small. You cannot see by naked eye. You have to use microscope. So this parasite is in the microbiology also. All right. This Plasmodium species is just like a mammalian cell, just like a eukaryotic cell. So they have a nucleus and mitochondria and Golgi and ER also. Normally, all of the animal cells have that kind of organisms, but especially this Plasmodium species has more organisms for invade to the host cell. So that includes pellicle or microtubule and some kind of the secretory organelle and epicap, something like this. The normal animals that doesn't have this kind of organelle, but only malaria parasite or other, some parasite, unicellular parasite have this kind of organism. Okay. So this sporozoid can invade the hepatocyte that is the merozoid shape. The size is more smaller. It's just 2 micrometer. It's quite small, right? And this is also just like a mammalian cell. So they have a nucleus and mitochondria and Golgi and other vesicles, something like this. But in this memory, also have invade the specific organelle. It contains rotary, micronin, or microtubule, like this. Okay, so this is a different thing from the normal animal cell. So this size is quite small. The host cell is erythrocyte. Also, we call it red blood cell, right? In the red blood cell size, the average size approximately 8 to 10 micrometers, so just 5-fold less than the host cell. So they can grow, multiply in the red blood cell. So this is the basic morphology of the malaria parasite. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so do you know how many Plasmodium species exist in the world? I think maybe not. Even myself doesn't know. Yeah, so actually in the world, we discovered more than 250 Plasmodium species in the world. But the good thing is the Plasmodium species have very sensitive to select a host. So not all the parasites can invade human. So now we recognize only five species can infect human. So I'm drawing here as a red color box, including the Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium ovale and malariae and vivax. This is the 4 traditional Plasmodium species what we recognized before to invade human. But recently, some of the monkey malaria, the nature host is monkey, but they can invade human. So just recently, the yellow color box indicate Plasmodium knowlesi. Actually, that is a simian malaria parasite, but nowadays we recognize they are also the human malaria. Okay, it's quite a new thing. And also, I'm highlighted by the blue box of the others, Plasmodium brasilianum, and Comnia, Inui, the kind of thing is actually the simian malaria, but we already confirmed the parasite also can invade human, already occurred in human infection cases. Anyway, there has a lot of Plasmodium species in the world, and traditionally we just knew 4 or 5 Plasmodium species can invade human, but recently it expanded more to the simian malaria. Okay, so this is the phylogenetic tree of the Plasmodium species. Okay, please next slide. Okay, let's see how they are invade human and how they live with us. Okay. So can you play this? Okay, thank you so much. So this is the Anopheles mosquito. the major vector or the plasmodium.
kecil. Udah full
Everyone have
screen.
experience to biting by the mosquito, but
Nggak
when they are sucking the human blood milk,
minta Uber.
Sorry, I guess there is a technical issue at the moment, so the committee will try to fix it. I'm sorry.
no, that's fine because the next slide I was prepared by the picture, so just so we can skip this idiot.
All right, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, can you go to the
Next slide, please.
Yes, here is I'm already prepared at the right side of the malaria. So it's a shame we cannot see the video, but anyway, I explain one by this figure. Okay, when it's better to later. This video.
Minta sambungan di itu pension.
Okay, just focus on this picture. Okay, so the infected Anopheles mosquito, when they bite, they inject the sporozoid to the human body. The sporozoid, did you remember the shape of the sporozoid? It's like a worm. Right? The sporozoid, by the bloodstream, they travel to the hepatocyte, that is a liver cell. Right? From the liver cell, one sporozoid can duplicate thousands of the merozoid. It took around 2 weeks. Okay. So after fulfill of these thousands of merozoid in the one hepatocyte, they rupture and leads to the bloodstream. So this, at that day, we call merozoid, thousands of merozoid. This merozoid can invade human red blood cells. So one merozoid invade to the human red blood cell, and they are going to the we call the ring stage and trophozoid stage, and they are replicate. So if we can see the double of the nuclei from the red blood cell, from that we call the Schizon stage. Okay. So after Schizon stage, they replicate, the merozoid replicate the dozen of the merozoids, and they are rupture again, and every single merozoid also can invade new red blood cells. That is why the parasite, the number of parasites increase very quickly in the human body. So the patient feel the malaria symptom because every time they break down the red blood cell, and when this merozoid leads to your bloodstream, the immunity will be activated. So you can feel the malaria symptoms. So this cycle is asexual cycle. So they are just replicate again and again. Okay, so during this, some merozoid, they go to the sexual cycle. So we call this one is gametocyte. So they just develop the male and female gametocyte. So new mosquito when bite the human, this male and female gametocyte just transport the mosquito. They pass through the stomach because the mosquito stomach have a different pH with the human body and temperature is different. So this gametocyte develop more, and finally they are fertilized in the mosquito midgut, and they pass through the midgut, and finally they produce sporozoid again, and they travel to the salivary gland of the mosquito, and they can starting to infect new humans. So this is a basic of the malaria life cycle. So actually this is quite complex process. How they can survive like this more than 100,000 years. But they can survive. It's really surprised, right? So my research, I'm just focusing on how this merozoid can invade red blood cell, how they can select host cell. So this is one of the video. I took in the New Zealand. So could you please start this video from the beginning? Yes, this is the Shaijan state. So they are ruptured, right? So dozen of merozoids leads from the one red blood cell. And they try to invade to the other cell. So let's see how they are invade at real time. So you can imagine in your blood, this is happening, right? So one merozoid is trying to attach to the new blood cell, right? And this one also trying to attach to the new blood cell. And starting the invasion. And finally they make an echinocyte. It's just the irregular shape of the RBC, red blood cell, after invasion. Yes, you know, this process just finished between the 1 and 30 seconds, 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's quite short process. Right. So my research is that within this short process, they actually have a lot of protein interaction with the merozoid and the human red blood cells. So I want to identify one by one which proteins are involved in this invasion process. Okay. Sorry. Okay, the next slide. Yes, good. The next slide is merozoid invasion biology. What I major mainly focus on the research. So this single merozoid can express 6,000 to 8,000 proteins. It's a lot. One single cell expresses 8,000 proteins. Among them, some of the protein closely related to the invasion. So every protein actually have to be interact with each other. So the invasion-related protein should be interacted with the human red blood cell proteins as a receptor and ligand. Anyway, so I identify one by one of the proteins by deep molecular techniques. Let's see the invasion process in more detail. So once they are launched from red blood cell, the one single merozoid attach the randomly. So at the moment we can disattach also. It's a random interaction. After that, they reorientated their location. So as I told you, at end of this merozoid have a concentrate some invasion organ here. So they just rule on the red blood cell and tightly attached with that organ. So secreted protein, another protein at the moment, and they are just starting to invasion. So during that time, they are shading off the surface particle, and they can make some even evasion or so. And anyway, they starting to invade like this. And finally, the host cell make a echinocyte. So you saw before the echinocyte shape, they very quickly they just change the shape of the red blood cell, right? So after that, after invasion, 2 hours later, they are starting to the groups from the ring stage, like this, and tropozoid stage, and after 48 hours, we call Shaijan stage, like this. So actually, this is a Gibbs stain. We're checking by the microscopy. So everybody will learn that RBC has no nuclei, so Gibbs can stain nuclei. So normal RBC cannot stain by Gibbs staining. But the parasite, the Plasmodium parasite have the nuclei, so we can see where is the parasite. Is that RBC infected by Plasmodium or not? So in here, every time, every 48 hours, the infected red blood cell is rupture impression like this. So the patient have a symptom of the malaria. That is a the major symptom is the chill and sweating in the skin, and also fever because of the release of this malaria in the bloodstream. And respiratory is dry cough, but sometimes in severe case, some patients have a respiratory failure case also. That is a severe case. And spleen is enlargement because the dead RBC they clean by the spleen, so they work very hard, so they are starting to enlarge. Okay? And stomach is nausea and vomiting, and back and muscle have pain and fatigue in the muscle, and the central part have a headache. So most important symptom of the malaria is a fever. So I will explain later more exactly for this. Okay, next slide. Yes, this is the incidence of malaria from the 2000 equal to year, right? So malaria is exists in the all over the world, especially in tropical and subtropical countries. Even in Indonesia, even in Korea also we have malaria patients. So everywhere you can find a malaria patient, and there has malaria deaths. That is the most severe problem about the malaria. So actually, the Plasmodium falciparum species can kill human, not vivax, because in Korea we have Plasmodium vivax case only, not falciparum. But anyway, the falciparum can kill the human. They usually kill the people in the Southeast Asia and Africa, majorly Africa. So let's see where is the malaria death occur. So my region is sub-Saharan Africa. It's purple color, sub-Saharan Africa. It's a huge population, right? So sub-Saharan Africa is this part is quite red, right? And by age, under the 5. That means under the 5 children in Africa. Just focus on about the simian malaria also. Okay. Okay. Next slide. Okay, let's see more detail about the clinical manifestation. This is a severe case, complicated severe case. How the parasite, Plasmodium parasite, can kill the human. So usually human death by the
red blood vessel production. The 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 pro- actually the actually we have the affected maybe so many times. So one of the reason is the malaria. They enlarge the spleen and also to enlarge the liver so they can make up this bigger of the water. So this is malaria severe case. Actually, in Southeast Asia also. Yeah, this is a mechanism how they can kill the human. Just briefly introduce. So after invaded by the pathology parasite to the red blood cell, the shape is changed to the like this. So the infected red blood cell shape has appear in small dot, right? We call the node structure. But this node structure contains many of the plasmodium species protein derived from the plasmodium species. Located in here, the protein can interact with the human blood vessel epithelial cell. So they can easily.
So they starting to attach with the blood vessel, and finally they will block the blood vessel. Especially the children, the age under 5, their blood vessel is very small, so easy to block by this plasmodium particle parasite. And also another reason is this infected red blood cell also can bind with the normal red blood cell, normal one. So they make more worse situation, they more easy to block the blood vessel. So the patient is die. Okay? In case of particle, we know this mechanism, but in knowledge, actually we don't know exactly. And this one is actually the cynomolgi also can interact with the normal red blood cell. This is normal red blood cell, and this is infected one. This is a electron microscope image. I took in the usually this image, but anyway, they can interact with each other. Right? Normal red blood cell and infected red blood cell also interact each other. But still, we don't know what is the factor because the cynomolgi or vivax or even vivax uh, not killing that human, the parasite have no structure. So actually, we don't know how they can bind each other. So also we don't know how they are attacked to the human beings also, right? So next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the malaria parasite always have an evolution pressure. But the human also always have an evolution pressure. So we're living together with malaria parasite, human, of course, with mosquito also. So malaria parasite select humans. Also, human wants to survive from the malaria infection. So in the Africa country, especially in Africa country, there have some mutation in the genome, in the human, to avoid this plasmodium vivax infection. So we call this is innate immunity. So actually, the plasmodium vivax, the parasite, use DBP. This is one of the protein for essential for the invasion. They interact with DARC in the human red blood cell surface. If we can block this DBP and DARC interaction, the virus cannot be invaded to the human red blood cell. Okay? So in the African country, the human, the African, they starting to delete this DARC gene. So they not express this DARC. So they can avoid from the vivax infection. So this is a selection by the Plasmodium species, and the human in the high endemic area human, they have that kind of evolution pressure. So we have to think about all of that relationship, not only the parasite, the human and parasite also, and mosquito parasite also, mosquito human also. So you have to have a very wide eye to understand what happened for malaria. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Yes, another also have innate immunity. So you might be heard about the sickle cell disease, right? I don't know if you heard or not, but anyway, this is normal red blood cell shape, and we call the donut shape. But if the patient have sickle cell disease, they change it to the like this. It's a crescent shape. Actually, this one has some side effect for the anemia. They can occur to anemia, but in Africa country here, the sickle cell patient increase a lot. Why? Why they are increasing in Africa? Because they want to avoid to invade by the falciparum malaria. So after getting the falciparum plasmodium falciparum, the children is down. But when they have this disease, sickle cell disease, they can survive, right? Survive the adult, and they can make a baby, and the baby is have sickle cell. So the sickle cell population is increased a lot in African countries. This is actually very easy because this is a hemoglobin sequence, the part of the hemoglobin sequence. Only in this part have one point mutation, is T to A, right? The amino acid is changed and the shape of this red blood cell is totally changed. So in the molecular biology way, only we usually focus on like this, very, very small and small site really focus on. So only one nucleic acid gene can make totally different people. Okay, so this is a evolution pressure. This is mutation. So anyway, this is normal RBC, easy to pathologize, even the narrow blood vessel, but the sickle cell is easy to block, and they cause anemia. Anyway, the sickle cell disease patient, good thing is they can avoid the falciparum infection. They can survive, right? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the important thing is how we can diagnose of the malaria. So based on the fever pattern, the clinical manifestation, there has different fever pattern by the species. So in first term, they won't have a fever, and day 3, day 4 have a fever. And the Vivax and Ovale have day 1 fever peak, and day 3 fever peak. And malaria is day 1 and day 4 peak, right? And normalize every day have fever at the same time. So why the fever has different pattern according to Plasmodium species? Because it closely related with their life cycle. So in falciparum and even in Vivax and ovale, the maturation time is 48 hours. So every couple of days later, they can feel the fever. At the moment they are ruptured. So at the rupture date is the day feel the fever date. Okay? So malaria is, yeah, you can guess the how long day is the day of maturation date, right? It's a 72 hour, is 3 days, right? That is why on the day 4 they have a fever. And how about the knowledge side? Every day have a fever. They replicate every day. So their life cycle is about 24 to 27 hours. That is why knowledge has a very severe problem in the human being's health. Okay? Okay, so based on this fever pattern, maybe the patient also remember their fever pattern. So the doctor just asks them when you have a fever, how about the next day, how about the next day, and then you can guess, it looks like malaria patient based on this fever pattern. Okay, please next slide. Okay, and many endemic areas still use this microscopic examination. Yeah, even WHO told us this is the golden standard method. Okay, so there has some advantage and disadvantage. The sensitive, informative. Actually, we can differentiate the species based on their morphology. Also, the price is cheap and permanent because we can keep it long time. This slide. Okay, but disadvantages have we have to have well-trained technicians. We have to have evaluated technicians. And for the staining step, we use this one. We just drop the one drop of the blood on the microscopic slide, and just we pull this, and we stain with the ginza. As I told you, ginza staining, we can stain the nuclei only, right? So in this process, actually take a long time. Final reading, final result reading, that is why it take a long time. So the long delay result to clinician, that is disadvantage. But still many countries use this microscopic examination for malaria detection. Okay, so morphology is here. This is 5 human malaria species, including Knowledge. Okay, so each stage we can see like this. This is ring stage, trophozoite stage, and Chaijon stage, and sexual cycle, and gametocyte stage. So can you see what is the difference within this each image? It's difficult. I explain one by one. So in Parthenon, ring stage, it has 3 dots, right? So the nuclei we can see by this pink dot. The small dot is the nuclei of the parasite, plasmodium parasite, and this faint purple color surrounding this pink dot, that is cytoplasm of the parasite. So we can know here is the 3 parasites, 3 merozoic made to the 1 red blood cell. So the parasiparent we can often detect this kind of multiple infection case, even in the patient also. Okay, and trophozoite is actually nothing special, and Chaijon is nothing special. But actually, when you draw the plasmodium participant patient blood in the field, you cannot see the total. You cannot see trophozoite in Chaijon stage, because in this stage they are already binded with the human blood vessels. So when you draw the blood, they are not contain this trophozoite and Chaijon stage. Only this ring stage you can observe, and the sexual stage gametocytes you can observe. So the key point of the diagnosis of this plasmodium falciparum is gametocyte. This gametocyte shape it looks very long. It's not like a red blood cell, right? We call the banana shape, this one. So if you see the patient slide in this morphology, banana shape of gametocyte, the patient is falciparum patient. Okay, this is a key point. And also the study could not see any kind of trophozoite and chytid. Okay, this is a key point of the diagnosis. Participant and the bivalves. From the lean stage, the red blood cell, the host cell is enlarged, right? And trophozoite stage, it looks, the shape is irregular. We call the amoeboid shape, like amoeba shape. Okay? Amoeboid shape. If you see the amoeboid shape of the trophozoite, you can diagnose a bivalves. Okay? And the side joint is red blood cell membrane actually is staying very weak usually. So if you see this kind of trophozoite and weak red blood cell membrane, you can diagnose as a bivalves. Okay, in the malaria also we can differentiate by trophozoite stage. You can see in the cytoplasm is like a band, right? So we call the band form of the trophozoite. So if you see the band form of a trophozoite, you can diagnose as malaria. And overlay also have some specific shape in the trophozoite stage. So we call the oval shape. That is why their name is overlay. They appear in the trophozoite stage is oval shape. So if you see this oval shape, you can diagnose as an overlay. And knowledge actually still we don't have any specific features for differentiative disease, but at the China stage, just they produce less number of the merozoids, just 8 or 12, something like this. But others, they can produce more than 20 merozoids. So we can see at the China stage if there has big merozoid curve and the number of merozoids is less than other, just we can diagnose as knowledge eye. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, this one I've already explained before, so just pass this slide. Okay, next slide. Yes, one of my experience in the Thailand, there's really high endemic area in Thailand. This year is 2013, only 10 years ago. So there has one clinic, so every morning the patient just came to here and take blood using finger prick and put on the slide and they are reading the slide like this. So we still use this microscopic examination in the field, right? So every morning there is a lot of patients here. So actually the biobox we can detect all stage of parasite, but when in my experience, when I in the Thailand, every morning there is patients, so they got fever at the night time. So at the morning, I just diagnose. Usually we can see the lymph stage because at the night time they rupture. At the morning it's the lymph stage. So actually that is easy to confuse with the particular. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, another diagnosis method is a malaria rapid diagnostic test. Actually, the more undeveloped country like Africa, they still use this MRDT supported by WHO. So this is many kind of IDT. So maybe you know the how it works. The IDT kit is same as COVID-19 IDT kit. So I will skip that explain exactly, but anyway, in the more undeveloped countries still use this rapid diagnostic test. So the targeting antigen is HRP2, histone-rich protein 2 for P-particular detection. And on other species of Plasmodium, we use lactate dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay? But the problem is that this IDT kit, we targeted this HRP2 for P-particular, but some of the country now starting to delete this HRP2 by the parasite. Actually, if detected by this IDT kit, the parasite we're trying to kill, right? We're trying to cure the patient. So it remains deleted one. We select the parasite. So some of the here is Southern America and Africa, even the Asian country, it already appeared HRP2 deleted Plasmodium falciparum parasite. That means even I got the infection from the Plasmodium falciparum, but I cannot detect it by this identity usually. So that is a major problem for this identity. But actually, the African country have not much money, so they have to use this MRDT, but we cannot detect that. That is a problem. Okay, next slide, please. So recently, it developed some molecular detection method, including PCR. It's developed in malaria detection. We call the nased PCR and qPCR or RT-PCR. So there are two methods. So I don't know how much deeply explain about the PCR process. Maybe next time I have more time, maybe explain more deeply about the molecular biology, molecular diagnosis about malaria. Anyway, each patient from the DNA, we can detect each species by the different size. In biobanks, we can detect a 120 base pair, and malaria is 144 base pair, something like this. So based on the band size, we can differentiate the species we can diagnose. This is quite sensitive, and specificity also quite high. So it's better than microscope or MRDT test, but actually it needed well organized equipment, PCR machines, something, and well-trained technician also. And another way is qPCR. We use the fluorescence. So this is basically the same as PCR step, normal PCR step, but we just use fluorescence to detect our specific target DNA region. So after we leading that fluorescence trends, and they appear the peak, we diagnose as the parasite. So I think it's better to later I have more chance to give a lecture about that, more deep molecular biology diagnosis. Okay, so next slide, please. Yeah, treatment. So we, from the 1,600, we already discovered the quinine, but actually the quinine have a lot of side effects, so we didn't use now this quinine. Actually, in 1940, we discovered the chloroquine. So still we use this chloroquine as a drug of the anti-malaria. And 70, we discovered mefloquine, and 80, haplofantrine, and 90 is artemisinin. This one is who got the Nobel Prize, the Chinese woman. She discovered this artemisinin. So actually, now still we use chloroquine as a first line of the drug, but problem also occurred. Already appeared this CQ, chloroquine resistance parasite in the world, not only Africa, not only in Southeast Asia, in the world it appeared. So WHO recommended to use artemisinin combination therapy. So artemisinin with those kind of drug together treat to the patient, because actually the artemisinin also now have drug resistant parasites in the world. So WHO wants to delay this drug resistance process, wants to delay. That is why they just give a low dose of artemisinin and combination with other drug. But actually, this is difficult to the undeveloped country because it's quite expensive, this regimen, right? So, and the country still use chloroquine, even the region have the chloroquine resistance or not, whatever, just cost effective. So that is why really, really difficult to control the kind of country for eliminate the malaria. And also we have primaquine to kill in the liver parasite in the liver. But we have to consider to use this primaquine because of the pregnancy moment, we cannot use this primaquine. And GSPD deficient patient also we cannot use this primaquine. If you give to the GSPD deficient patient for this primaquine, then all of the red blood cell is ruptured. Okay, so they are hemorrhaged. And also So how to we select the malaria drug? Based on the plasmodium species, we have to consider, and also drug resistance, we have to consider. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, about the vaccine. Just recently, the 2020 October, WHO approved one vaccine, the produced by this is project. Looks like a worm, right? That is the project derived from the project surface. We call the CSP protein, CSP. But the problem, these mosquitoes, this pulse vaccine is for those only 30% protection against severe malaria. So we can say this is really the effective vaccine, maybe not, right? But still, we don't have any vaccine, so WHO urgently approved this vaccine, even no more than 4 years, right? So every 4 years, you have to take this vaccine, 4 doses. So many researchers still suffering to they want to overcome or develop this vaccine, malaria vaccine. So actually, this is a vaccine formula. It's really complex. So anyway, briefly, this is CSP protein. They just express this part of the CSP, and also they attach with the hepatitis B virus protein because they wanna have a co-effect with malaria and hepatitis B patients. So they make this kind of construct and transfer to the brewer's yeast, and the brewer's yeast express this protein on the surface. Of course, this yeast inactivating, so just protein, just like protein, and inject this yeast to the human. That is vaccine. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. It will be final slides. It's boring, right? Boring story. Okay, don't worry, this is the final slide. Okay, first prevention. So, every single of students, not only students, many people should know about the malaria symptom, at least the symptom. Otherwise, they don't know the symptom, they're not going to the hospital. They didn't check, just, oh, I feel sick like catch a cold, something like that, just feel like this. So everyone have to know the detailed symptom of the malaria to go the hospital and treatment for treatment. Okay, and also this is good for the bite prevention. We can use bed net in Africa. So one survey, the bed net have a 43% effective for reduced biting event from the mosquito. So before using the bed net and after using the bed net, they decrease a lot for chance for biting by the mosquito. So actually, if they are all infected by Plasmodium species of the mosquito, you can protect 43%, reduce the chance. Okay, so it is better to use bed net at the night time. Okay, and also another way is chemoprophylaxis. Even in Korea, we also have vivax patients. So in the army, we give a chloroquine drug. Fortunately, in Korea, have no chloroquine drug resistance yet, so we can treat with chloroquine. So Korean also used this policy to the army to protect our army. So this is also effective to reduce the malaria infection cases. Okay? So this is how we can prevention beside of the vaccine. Now there is no effective vaccine yet. So you have to well educated every person about the malaria and prevent from the bite from the mosquito and chemoprophylaxis we can use. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. That is my talk. Yeah, or about the malaria. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Hunt, for really nice talk and insightful. Yeah. So I'm gonna open for 3 questions first. Okay. So 3 questions from here, from the students here or from the online chat. So we're gonna open for 3 questions first. Are there any questions? Okay, 1 questions, and then any more question? Okay. Okay, now first question first from Safar. Okay, please deliver your questions. Any mic, please? Okay.
Thank you for Pak Fauzi and Professor Hen for time. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Zafarendra Sandika. I'm the student of Epidemiologi and Tropical Disease in Public Health University. As we know, in the prison, there is a malaria resistance, especially for artemisinin, like Professor Han said earlier. And if I'm not mistaken, I have read in a scientific paper that the artemisinin is no longer effective for 10 to 15 years in use. And we could say that ACT is like the main medicine method, I think, to cure the malaria. So the question is, what is the main reasons or cause of the malaria drug resistance, especially to the artemisinin? And the second question is, if the new medicine is discovered, is it possible that the resistance against the new medicine will come again?
Thank you for the question. Yes, after automation, actually there is new drug candidate yet. That is the most problem because the automation already occurred, the drug resistance spreading in the world. But next, we don't have any choice, right? That is why WHO recommend use ACT, the automation combination therapy, because they want to delay, they want to get some time for develop new drug. So that is the major thing in treatment of the malaria. Yes, many researchers still discovering the new malaria drug, even in my laboratory trying to discovering that. But actually, that is not easy work. That is most problem. Even the grant also have problem. But anyway, many researchers still give a effort, give a focus to develop the new drug. Yes, that is our now situation actually.
Okay, does it answer your question so far? Okay, you got it? Sure? Any more questions?
Like, I have more
Sure. Go ahead, please.
Like Professor said earlier that we currently discover this medicine of the malaria. Like, what is the different about the new malaria that we developed beside of the artemisinin?
So you mean that now discovering the new compound? Yes. Actually, still we don't know exact mode of action of the artemisia. So just recently we discovered chloroquine, how they are work in the parasite, but still we don't know about the artemisinin. And the new drug also, still we don't know how they are work. But they just treat with the drug, but in the in vitro system, not in the human directly, of course. So we can culture the parasite, plasmodium particle parasite, and we just mix with the compound. If the parasite die, that is a new drug candidate, but we still don't know what is the exact mechanism. Just that compound can kill the parasite. So that is we're still far away to get a nice target and totally understand about the mechanism. Still far away.
Okay. Does it answer the questions? I want to add something. I will talk in bahasa. Jadi pengembangan obat yang baru itu didasarkan pada beberapa sistem atau beberapa mekanisme dari si parasit ketika ada di dalam sel darah merah. Ketika parasit berada di dalam sel darah merah itu, mereka itu mempunyai regulasi seluler. Di dalam regulasi seluler itu ada beberapa ion, kemudian ada beberapa enzim, ada beberapa hal-hal lain yang parasit itu keluarkan. Oke, kalau dia tidak keluarkan, maka akan terjadi ketidakstabilan di dalam sel darah merah. Akhirnya mereka tidak bisa tumbuh. Oke, jadi ada beberapa pathways atau jalur supaya kita bisa menghambat pertumbuhan parasit. Jadi artemisinin kemungkinannya akan membuat parasit itu tidak bisa mengeluarkan hemozoin atau target-target lainnya. Nah, itu adalah obat-obat yang kita memang masih dalam proses pengembangan. Banyak sekali target obat. Cuman untuk di clinical trialnya itu memang tidak semua obat yang bagus secara lab itu belum tentu di dalam tubuh manusia atau hewan itu lolos uji. Itu. Oke, apakah sudah menjawab? Clear? Yeah. So are there any more questions from new members of our family? Capit? I think we still have time, right? Yeah. Okay. Any more questions, please? Okay. Atika.
Sebelumnya izin mohon maaf Pak, saya pakai bahasa Indonesia aja boleh nggak Pak? Perkenalkan nama saya Tika Salsabila Eka Putri, saya siswa tertuju. Saya izin bertanya Pak, tadi kalau misalnya treatment setiap pasien malaria itu berbeda-beda, seperti ada tergantung dari plasmodium pasien tersebut atau dari resistensi obatnya. Nah, apakah kedua hal tersebut saling bersangkutan? Kayak seperti misalnya ada pasien yang memiliki resistensi obat, apakah plasmodiumnya juga akan terpengaruh dari resistensi itu? Terus kira-kira jika pasien tersebut memiliki resistensi obat, apakah solusinya dia akan diberikan dosis yang lebih atau bagaimana Pak? Terima kasih.
Yeah, I will translate that questions for you. For giving the treatment to the patients, it depends on the Plasmodium species, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And then if there is resistance in that regimen of that drugs, so what kind of combinations or any other things that we can change or something like that for different species or anything else? And then another question, if there is a drug resistance, should we then increase the dose for that patient or we change the regimen of the drugs? Forget the first question, just answer the second question, maybe okay. I'm also confused for the first questions.
Terima kasih for your question. Okay, maybe I can just give a second question. Okay, for the second question is, yes, we cannot use the drug resistant drug even in the high dose because we already select by the drug. So the genome of the parasite is totally different. So even we increase the dose, the drug cannot be worked because the drug is bind with the parasite protein, but the parasite protein shape is totally changed, it's different. So they are totally not effective to the parasite. So it is better to change the regimen to the ACT plus combination therapy. But actually there is no regulation. It could be first question. artemisinin drive the combination therapy. Actually, every country they have their own regulation. So in the Ministry of Health, they select based on which one they can easy to get, which one is cheaper in their country. Based on that, they choose. So anyway, many countries still constantly just treat with chloroquine at the first time. But if the patient is not cured, they change to artemisinin therapy plus the combination based on their country regulations. Right? Actually, it is better to not use chloroquine.
Oke, saya kasih dalam bahasa Indonesia ya. Jadi ketika sudah terdeteksi adanya resistensi terhadap obat tertentu, taruhlah obat X, ternyata dia sudah tidak bisa dipakai lagi. Oke, kita tidak bisa naikkan dosisnya untuk di malaria. Karena apa? Ketika parasit itu sudah ada resistensi terhadap obat X, berarti si parasit itu sudah melakukan modifikasi diri. Dia sudah berubah bentuk, istilahnya secara genetik itu dia sudah berubah bentuk gitu. Jadi tidak akan mungkin obat ini akan efektif. Kemungkinannya dampaknya kecil, tapi tidak akan bisa memberikan efektivitas atau tingkat kesembuhan yang seharusnya atau semestinya. Sehingga solusinya adalah ketika terjadi resistensi obat pada malaria atau pada pasien atau di wilayah tertentu, cara yang tepat adalah kita merubah regimen obatnya atau jenis obatnya. Makanya WHO sekarang adalah melakukan jenis pengobatan dengan menggunakan kombinasi. Jadi kalau satunya ada resistensi, masih ada beberapa atau ada dua yang masih dia bisa bekerja secara maksimal. Dengan menggunakan kombinasi ini juga bisa menurunkan kecepatan resistensi atau istilahnya kemungkinan resistensi yang terjadi itu bisa ditanggulangi. Kalau satu atau single dose atau satu jenis obat, kalau dia sudah resistensi, sudah tidak, ya kita harus ganti obat. Kalau kita pakai 3 dalam satu kali pengobatan, biasanya untuk resistensinya, tingkat resistensi itu bisa sedikit dikendalikan. Oke, clear? Oke. I think we still have question. So for the first question is about the RDT efficacy, because when we use the RDT, it's not really that sensitive.
Yes, so recently reported about the RDT sensitivity, but in just recently, many countries they have deletion parasite of HIV2. So many countries now starting to fail to detect P falciparum, even they have patients, right? So this is a quite big problem in the world because those kind of countries in Africa, they have no money to buy microscope. They don't have any technician to stay in the slide and leading the slide. All of that is a cost. Actually, it's very high, right? Compare then RDT. RDT is very cheap, and WHO just support the RDT to the country, so they just use that one, even in the field. They don't need any technician, just fingerprint and give a blood, that's all, we can detect. So maybe they also know about, they in that region have some IDT sensitivity decreasing, but there has no choice actually. In socially also, that is the most problem for IDT. So also many researchers trying to find another antigen for diagnosis the target antigen to replace to the IDT. Yeah, just ongoing the process also.
So is it possible to use gold standard microscopy, or should we just change to the molecular techniques?
Molecular technique is really far from now in the country, but if some country have at least have money, or if they have a lot of students and the education level is high, of course we can apply that one. Yes, but in Africa, almost African country, actually, still difficult.
Okay, And then the next question is about the chemoprophylaxis.
Yeah, the chemoprophylaxis, we have to consider about that drug half-time in the human body. Actually, the chloroquine and it have a, how much is 6 months of the chloroquine. So once you take that drug, that chloroquine, you can just stay in the 6 months because the compound is still circulating in your body. So that is effective if the lesion has no drug resistance or the CQ. Yes. So also many researchers survey for the drug resistance in each region. Yes. So, but anyway, there is not many information about that specific region. So even Papua, we don't know exactly in the region which drug have resistance. Yeah, that is problem. So we need to survey about that also to give a correct regimen to the patient. Otherwise, just waste the money. They have already CQ resistance, but why we need to give a CQ to them, right? So that is urgently needed also. And yes, and about the pregnancy woman, yeah, recently it developed the one liver stage drug we call tapenoquine, uh, but someone say it can say to use in the pregnancy woman, but actually not exact information. So we need to take more time to keep in looking that drug is really safe or not. Still, we don't have many information about it. But anyway, uh, we can replace Primakin to the tapenoquine. Is it possible? But, yeah.
So that's it. I think it's enough for question and answer sessions. If there are participants have more questions, then you can just type it. I will try to deliver in person for that question to Professor Han, and then he will reply to your email, or we can publish it, your question with the answer in the chat box later on. Okay, I think this enough for our sessions. I'm as a moderator for today. Just want to close. I hope that what Professor Hans explained or gave to us can increase our knowledge and escalate the insight for malaria research, development, or other things. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Wow, what insightful presentation.
Yeah, so insightful. Thank you so much, Professor Hanjin, for the insightful lecture. And also thank you to Dr. Fauzi for assisting us in the first lecture. Let's give them a round of applause.
As of appreciation, we have a certificate for our speaker and moderator today. And for the committee, please show the certificate on the screen.
Share.
Okay, for the committee, please help us to take the photo. Okay, thank you, Professor Hanjin He for the presentation. And next, we will show a certificate for our moderator, Dr. Fauzi. For the committee, please show the certificate. Okay,
Thank you so much. I would also like to invite Mrs. Nisa to come on the stage to give a souvenir to Professor Hanjin. I would like to invite Dr. Martini, MPH, to get on the stage to give a souvenir to Professor Hanjin. To the committee in charge, you may please take a photo of. Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
so
Martini
much.
and Professor Henjin here.
Thank you.
Okay. Natanya, there was
Yeah.
a insightful presentation for Professor Henjin here, and it's very interesting for us to learn knowledge about malaria.
Yeah, it's very insightful, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Now, what will we have?
Now, we're moving on the next lecture that will also be as interesting as the first one. And the next lecture will be delivered by Professor Choi Seung-jun and will be moderated by Mrs. Nisa Kusariana, BSPH, Master of Science. But before we go to the next session, let's take a look at Mrs. Nisa Kusariana's CV. Mrs. Nisa Kusariana, BSPH, Master of Science, is a lecturer in the Department of Epidemiology and Tropical Disease, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. She graduated from Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro for bachelor's degree and graduated from Parasitology and Medical Entomology, Bogor Agricultural University for master degree.
Yeah, that's right. After observing from her CV, we can see that she's well expertised in the medical entomology and epidemiology, and she has done many research and publications, including her recent one in 2021 about nocturnal activity of Aedes aespi in the filariasis endemic area in Central Java. So, without any further ado, let's welcome the moderator of our second lecture to the stage, Mrs. Lisa.
Okay, thank you very much for the MC and good morning everyone. Are you feel hungry? It's like your face show that you're very hungry, but maybe 1 hour we take your time and then you can get your lunch. Okay, to the next session. I will introduce myself. My name is Nisa Kusariana. I am a junior lecturer and more little senior than Dr. Fauzi in epidemiology and tropical disease. And today I will as a moderator from the second session in visiting professor. So maybe to the next, I will read the curriculum vitae for our speakers. The committee, can you show the curriculum vitae? Okay, the second speaker we have Professor Song Jun Choi. I'm sorry if I'm wrong to pronounce your name. And he from Department of Parasitology, School of Medicine, Chongbuk National University, Republic of Korea. And he graduated from School of Medicine to get the PhD in Chongbuk National University. And then next, he has a lot of experience of research in other country like I see in India and then in Korea, and then next he has a lot of publication like about helminthology, such as like okay, next maybe, yeah, like the newest publication Professor Chu published about molecular evidence of hookworms in public environment of Bangladesh. And then the second The two cases of main mite Sarcoptes scabiei infection in long-tailed coral Nemoredus candatus in the Republic of Korea. So I think it's an interesting speaker. So maybe I will welcoming to the Professor Su to go to the stage. Please give applause to Professor Che. Okay, good morning, Professor Che. Good morning. Okay. Selamat pagi. Can you selamat pagi? Okay, Professor Che. This second session you will have 1 hour to share your information, and then we continue with Q&A. So your time.
Thank you.
Maybe you can change your mic.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I like it. Thank you. My talk is actually just a few weeks ago, Dr. Mufauzi, he asked me to give a lecture about the hemiasis, especially hemiasis and its related matters. But actually, he asked me too much. So I tried to concern about that, the content, and I realized he asked me around the 12 hours of lecture, which I did in my faculty. So it takes 12 hours to make other people understand, but it's not. It's quite a long time, and I cannot do all the lectures in this moment. So I reduced it. I believe it can be finished in less than 1 hour, but I don't know. so is it prepared? Okay, it's not work. Yeah, I always say 다음. 다음 means next in Korean. So it's a little bit faster than next. Because there's my Korean colleagues, so I would ask him to pass it. Get up. 다음. Yeah. Actually, I don't know you checked from my CV or not, but I'm a veterinarian, so I basically got a bachelor for the veterinary medicine, and I'm usually working for animal parasites, which can be affect to human and all kinds of animals as well. And of course, I have a great interest on many kinds of other parasites which just exist in the nature as well. So I published some papers about the ectoparasites, hounds, and shells. It's not well recognizable, but in there there's some spots. And everything is a parasite, and some Koreans eat these sharpies by law, and they could impact it. Okay? How? And I also care about the wildlife parasites, which this one is an eyeworm of the leopard cat, and I will publish it very soon. Yeah, they have some delays. So I had some experience to visit Tanzania to teach other people. Also to get some investigations. Next. Oh, next. So there's some pictures. Next, just pass to the others. I've been visiting Antarctica to examine the penguin parasites. Pass. And also, recently I am interested in the sea turtle and other parasites as well. Okay, so today's topic is about hammers. So maybe you may not well educated about this group of parasites, but maybe you guys understand so much about concept. because the term Hermes is showing as here, like so it came from the Greek, ancient Greek, and it means intestinal worms. Because some of the intestinal parasites of human is quite big and then it's not easy to ignore. So they are just recognize and then they show its wiggling, jiggling movement. So they said it as a habit. But now this term is used for all kinds, almost all kinds of invertebrate parasites except ectoparasites. Okay, next. Okay, so next until the last step is shown. Next, 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 next. Sorry, I made too many animation, but I cannot work. I use this, yeah, remote control yet. Okay, stop. Oh, it's going too much. Okay. So the term parasitism is of course the meaning is different with depends on scholars, but basically we usually say the parasitism is a relationship between two living species, and one organism got benefit and the other one got harm. So in this concept, we may consider all of the pathogens, including bacteria, virus, fungi, and even protists, are included in the parasites. And so the malaria parasites are also included in this area. So among whole of the pathogens, actually malaria is just a small, very small group, but the kinds of parasites got impact too much against the humans, so it's quite important in this moment. But the Hymenses, okay, clear one more. See, Hermes is unlike with the malaria parasite. It's a group of the total multicellular invertebrate parasites which are not include exoparasites like arthropods. Next. Okay, either so until they show the last one. Okay, stop. Good. So Helminths is a group of parasites which are invertebrates, and most important character of the Helminths is these things. Large, soft-tissued macroparasites. And generally because their size are quite bigger, so as I told you about the Greek word, so it's easy to see by our naked eyes, so they are characterized by these large multicellular parasites. And most important factor in this slide is, of course, this one, marked with blue color. Helminths is actually not a taxonomic group. So likely primates, carnivores, somewhat insectivora in others. Like these kinds of taxonomic groups, they share many of the characteristics except, but Helminths, they only share, they are large and just soft-tissued invertebrates. So except these, they have a totally different characteristics, and then it affects a lot of things against its diagnosis, treatment, and even control matters. So common parasites, including into the group Helminths, is like that. But as you can see, everything is a phylum. You know, the vertebrate is a phylum. So it means phylum is a kind of very primitive and huge taxonomic group, and then it has included at least 5 phylums, and means the Helminths inside that group, Helminths include these guys, shows really different with each other. Okay, next. So usually, okay, and helminthiasis is just a common term for Helminth infections, which are impacting by the kinds of all of the phylums like Nematoda, Platyhelminths, Aconsapalan, and even Annelida, including leeches. And because I told you it's not a taxonomic group, so I tried to write down some factors here, but actually everything I can just say it like a one word, various. They have a various characters, and it depends on taxonomic group. Everything is different. Okay, next. Okay, let's talk about taxonomy more deeply. Yeah, as you can see, this one is dolphin, and this one is a shark, white shark. Yeah, they look similar. They have fin, and they have a very beautiful shape. Some are pointed in anterior part with the fins to make it, and they can swim very well. But actually, they belongs to the different group. It's a mammal, and this one is fish actually. So even somewhat looks similar is not reflects its a taxonomic group. Okay, next. So as you can see, some of the parasites like nematodes have a long and somewhat soaked body, but this kind of body also shown in annelids, cestodes, and nematomorpha, but actually they are all different taxonomic, they belongs to taxonomic groups. Okay, next. But no, it's going too much. So among these all the taxonomy groups, actually these two is a major parasites for humans. So I will talk based on these two groups. Actually, Acanthophilans also can possible to impact human. It can make a severe pain in the abdominal cavity, and also annelids, they can impact as a like ectoparasites. Maybe some of you guys have an experience to bite by leeches as well. Okay, next. The first one is nematodes. So nematodes, they do not have a fragments, and then the body is covered with a cuticle. So as you can see, it's actually it's not parasites, nematode, but anyway, it's a nematode. But as you can see, it's like looks like a glass, and then little bit elastic and beautiful, and somewhat fascinating shapes. And because they are gonochorism, so they have both sex, male and female, and they do reproduction by sex. And then they have a high host specificity, and in many cases, they have a direct life cycle. This factor is actually very important for control the parasites. Okay, next. The second one is Trematoda, belongs to Thailand platyhelminthes. Thailand platyhelminthes is characterized by typical body structure. You know, in like a human have a lot of cavities inside the body. In the head, there are some cranial sinuses, and in the chest, there is a thoracic cavity, and abdominal cavity, pelvic cavity, and even nose, it also includes some cavities. But platyhelminthes they do not have any cavities. So their body is composed, is a compact cells, which are composed as some syncytium structure. So trematodes, they have a typical muscular suckers. So as you can see, this one also have a sucker here and here, and it's not well visible, but this one also have a two suckers. I brought some slide specimen of these guys, so maybe you can see in the experimental class. And they use one or two steps of intermediate host. And most of cases, they use a first intermediate host as snail, and they are hermaphroditic. So it means they do not have both sex, but they include both sex inside one body. Next. The next one is cestus. Cestus is also platyhelminths, so they share that intact and compact body, but they have just a scolex, some looks like a head, so-called scolex in its anterior end, and it has some suckers, and because based on the sucker, it's developed and then made more probabilities to elongate from the scolex, and they don't have a digestive tract, and then they also use one or two steps of intermediate host, but they do not use snails, unlike with the trematodes. And usually, cestotrichum, they do not make something pathogenicity against the human. They are usually not very important disease, but when they are impacted as for human as a metacestule, it's a term for larval cestules, so they can be a very big problem. So this one, I think you can see these kinds of pictures in news media because it's a very well known and very important disease around Asian countries. And these days it's also very important in South America. Okay, next. And of course, I have to explain about this factor, so-called the life cycle. As I think you already heard this term from Professor Hanjini's talk, because all the parasitologists, they always concerning about the life cycle of the parasite, because life cycle is the most important information. Actually, life cycle is everything. And after we understand the life cycle, then finally we can use this background information for control, diagnosis, and even prevention. Good. Okay, next. And next. Okay, until one more. Okay. Yeah. So life cycle. The information of a life cycle is composed with these kinds of practice. I think it's quite easy to see when we learning and study about parasites, like this kind of life cycle picture. I will explain it. This one is these are composed with these factors, and the first one is a host. Host is the animal or human which are impacted by parasites. And of course, a parasite is said, but in life cycle picture, the parasites also can be distinguished with the several stages. It's a life cycle stage, so-called from eggs or some larvae to stage of larva and adult one, which can possible to do reproduction. And in here, and because some stages of parasites, it's very important stage for human infection or prevention methods. So we distinguish some stages like impactive stage, which are the larval stage which is available to impact human or other animals, and reproductive stage, which are other stage of the parasites, and diagnostic stage. It depends, but usually the diagnostic stage is the time when the parasites are coming out from the host. And environment surrounding this area is environment, including water, soil, air, and also others, including human body, especially for malaria parasites. The human body is an environment of the life cycle. And also we should consider about social infection. Some parasites can be impacted by vegetable, meat, fish, water, and likely with the malaria, it can be impacted by vector arthropod as well. Next. I forgot to show this one. And another one, impaction route. So, based on these all methods, finally we can totally understand what life cycle and then its progresses of impaction, and we can make some strategies against this parasite. Okay, next. So these are several other examples. Okay, I need to explain one more thing in front slide. Okay. I don't know. I didn't explain about the direct and or indirect life cycle in the front page, but here, sorry, because as you can see in this picture, parasites impacted to human is make some eggs like here, and then eggs are coming out, and then the eggs is impacted to human again without any other host. So it means likely this kind of life cycle we say direct infection, direct life cycle. So the parasites, they do not need any other additional host. It means they can impact again, and if they allowed to make feces with the eggs again, the same host can be impacted again, 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 again. So it's very, so it means for like this kind of a direct life cycle, in here, this environment is very important because unless we treat people, if even there's some parasitic eggs are still remain in the environment, this guy can impact again. Okay, next. And then the others, so about the trematodes, this one includes some additional intermediate host. I think I should explain this thing as well. Maybe you guys have something difficulties in Professor Han's talk because of time. Maybe, I'm not sure you learned about the malaria parasites before or not, but anyway, he talking about a lot of terms like children's sporosis, sporozoids, trophozoids, it's a lot of terms. It's because parasites, I told you, it's not kind of a single taxon, but also composition of a lot of polyphyletic taxonomics positions. So each of the taxons use different terms. So it's a kind of a big barrier to learn and understand the parasite itself. So anyway, in here as well, so since trematodes, they also use their own typical terms. So eggs, and then we said like inside the egg, there's some larvae so-called miracidia, and miracidia, sporosis, teledia, zookaria. I know you cannot understand well because it's a term, and I told you just explaining about the terms, I spent at least 1 hour. And like this kind of life cycle using at least 1 or 2 host species, intermediate host species, we call indirect life cycle. So for about these kinds of parasites, we should consider about the other host as well for controls. And of course, there are some example of the filaria, which are impacted by, as like a malaria, impacted by vector bites and living inside the human body. Next. Okay, so let's look more closer about the life cycle. Yeah, because I repeatedly say the life cycle is the most important matter for the helminths, not only helminths but also other parasites as well. Cystosomes are parasites impacting to the human blood vessels. So they impact the human, and actually it make a huge problems based because of their eggs are accumulated inside the visceral organs, especially liver, kidney, and the mucus of the intestine as well. So because the eggs make some inflammatory problems, and especially some species like Cystosoma hematobium, they can produce kinds of cancer in urinary bladder of human. So for explain this one, the parasite is a cystosome. And cystosoma have like this kind of life cycle stages, like a miracidia and sarcaria. And environment is, as you can see, the environment inside this life cycle picture is water. So human can be impacted by, as you can see, everything is a little in the figure. Sarcaria penetrate the skin. It means inside the water environment, water, human can be impacted by sarcaria. The infectious stage is sarcaria, and the infection route is a skin penetration. So if we understand this life cycle figure, then we can understand how we can avoid. So in here, because the impaction environment is a water. So if the human did not go into the water, and then we don't need to worry about impaction of this parasite. And also, if we can eradicate all the snails inside the water, and of course, if we just swimming in the swimming pool, which do not have any snails, we don't need to worry about these parasites. And also, show the next slide. If we understand that life cycle, then it's a point, it's a site of the parasitologist. If we can see, like these kinds of pictures, some people think like, okay, this baby looks fun and then they are enjoying inside the water. But as a parasitologist, if we see like these kinds of pictures, we understand, okay, these guys, they are putting their body into the water, and then there's a snails, which are very suitable intermediate host of cystosoма. And if there is some parasites inside this area, then it means they are in a very good condition to be impacted by that very dangerous parasite. Okay, next. Okay, then I need to explain about the symptoms. But actually, as like any other pathogens, like cold, some cold, it's just make some cough or some fever and just recover very soon. But likely infection of a pneumonia or something other like a COVID, it can be a big problem. So parasites also, some species of parasites, they do not really harmful to human, but some species, they can be a big problem. Okay, and so unlike with any other pathogens like bacteria, virus, and even protists, the main difference from that kinds of pathogen with Hermes parasites is the size. So related with the behavior of the parasites and the physical size or structures can be important matters against the symptoms. Okay, show the next slide. Okay, likely a bacteria or viruses, maybe we can express it as like a zombie because single zombies are not affected very harmful to human. Of course, the human one itself is not very harmful, but if we caring about the total city or nation, just one single zombie is a not big problem. But if they transmit it, something like a zombie virus or others, and they increase number as like that, and then they transmit it one by one, and then the number of zombies increase, and then can be a very big and huge problem. So it's a procedure of the disease making of the microparasites. But like Hermeses, they are big. So they do not reproduce or transmit fastly as like other pathogens, like microparasites. Like a macroparasites, they are like a Godzilla or Kong. They just crush everything. By its physical power, and then some professors, they express like some parasites like so-called echinostoma. They are human impacting intestinal parasites, but their size is like 2 or 3 centimeters. They are swallow some microvilli of intestine as like a cow eating grass. So it means whenever they pass, that area was damaged and should be can be a big problem later. Okay, the next. But as like this kind of a dinosaur in Jurassic Park, I never seen this kind of a dinosaur make some problem inside the movie Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. Yeah, because they are calm and they are kind, and then they do not want harmful to humans. So, like this one, do not make any problems. So likely with this kind of dinosaur, some other hermeses never make any problems inside, even inside the human body. But just imagine, if like this kind of a big creature is coming inside, it's supposed to coming inside your home. I don't know how much big is your home, but anyway, maybe this one want to coming out and then they finally it can start cross everything. Okay, next. So, of course, for macroparasites, even they are kind and then not very harmful, if the parasites have a huge number of infections or they as like the dinosaur coming into the house, they are impacted to something long side, they can be a big problem. Okay, next. I will explain as a human's long been friend, Ascaris lumbricoides, so-called the round worm. Next. Okay, this one is a round worm. It's huge. It's a picture is coming from the endoscopy. And of course, this inside the intestine, but actually the physician blow up the air inside the intestine. That's why it looks something bigger. But anyway, parasites itself also big. Usually, this one do not make any problem inside the human body. Sometimes people do not know they are impacted by parasites or not because they do not make any harm. But next, if they impacted with huge numbers, they can block the intestine itself. So it's an obstructive ileal ascariasis. And because of the huge number of the parasites, because they are big, so they are crowded and then they stuck and obstruct some position, and then because of the things, this area was not supplied some air, and then the tissues die. And next. And it's also kind of very famous cases. So Ascaris lumbricoides is quite big, but they usually only living inside the lumen of the intestine. But what happened? If they decide to come in inside another cave, so-called bile duct. Actually, bile duct is another kind of a good habitat for the Ascaris worm. But if they try to go in closer, because unfortunately this kind of a roundworm do not have an ability to backward. They only can be going forward, and then if they decide to go inside here, then this kind of a tragic event can be happen. So they obstruct the viaduct, and then everything is stuck in here, and as like some gallbladder stone did, they can be a big problem, and then we have to do surgery for cure this one. Next. And there's a lot of parasite hemisiasis. So, and also it's usually prepared to this classified based on the how they are impacted. So I think even you don't know well about the parasites and its disease, but anyway, you may hear about this kind of terms. So it transmitted fishborne, foodborne, vector-borne. And ESS is usually we attest for human impaction, and then oocyst is for animal impaction. But actually they are same. Okay, next. Next. 다음. 안 넘어가나요? Okay, may have some technical problem now. So, and then depends on the species of a parasite. I can wait. actually I thought after finish Professor Hans' talk, maybe I can get something lasting time. So, and he said, okay, Professor Che, you can use this controller because Professor Hanjini, he may don't know how to use this one, but you can use it. So I tried to push this button several times, but it did not work. Yeah, blame him. Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually it's quite difficult to explain everything about the hemices because, as I told you, they are composed by several different taxonomy groups, and then everything have a different characteristics. So instead of explain like this, so everything it was as like a somewhat single disease, it's better to distinguish everything, and then it's better to explain individually. But yeah, I don't have time. Okay, so we're going faster. Okay, so depends on parasites, depends on Hammond's parasites. I told you some, usually the parasites are calm and then they do not harmful to human, but likely these kinds of parasites can make some deformity, make some problem, physical problems which are not returned back to normal condition. And next, and some parasites can make people blind. Next. And also this one, I told you about the cystosoma. So it's cystosoma japonicum impacted in China, Chinese person, and then they can make some huge problems inside the visceral organs, and then it can eternally make it people die. And this parasite was once reported from Sulawesi, Indonesia as well. Okay, next. Yeah. So currently, because I just explained about the overall conditions and life cycle of the hemorrhagic disease, and usually the hemorrhagic disease occurred around something developing countries, which especially the facilities and some environment, especially sanitary environment, is not equipped. Because it's a hygiene problem, and then most of the parasites, especially soil-transmitted hemisphere, are impacted by soil. Actually, it's not just the common soil, but contaminated by patient feces. So it means if we can manage the feces of the patient, or if we can cure all the patients, then can escape from parasitic infection. But yeah, of course, it's a 10 years ago. The data was a little bit out of date, but these numbers are still useful, and then not much numbers are decreased. Of course, it's a decrease. They think, but there's no any like a publication to estimate these kind of number yet. So maybe I think some years later we can get data, and we can compare with the 10 years ago data in there when current data, but still this one is latest data. So inside world, there's so many people are still affected and suffered by the parasite infection. Okay, next. And I told you about that dangerous parasite, so-called cystosoma, is still exist and suffered a lot of people in this area. Next. And also numbers, there's a huge numbers of infections. And next. And the World Health Organization, they decide some Hames disease, like here dracunculiasis, echinococcosis, foodborne dermatodiasis, and lymphatic cholera, onchocercaria, schistosomiasis, and soil-transmitted helminthiasis, and even taniasis as well. So, I know you are belongs to faculty of public medicine, and then you may educate it and learn about a lot of disease and even epidemiology and even entomology as well. But I just realized that even in this faculty, the lecture for parasitology is a little bit left. But as I show you in the front pages, there's a lot of people are still support, and even it's not free in Indonesia as well. And as like a World Health Organization, they made up this, what happened? They made that list. Actually, the list is a list of the neglected tropical disease, NTD, we so-called NTD. So it means even they impacted a lot of people and they support a lot of people, but most of the hemisphere disease belongs to NTD list. It means they are usually neglected and they not got much concern. And also, some of the hemisphere disease are included in the TDR list as well. Okay, next. Next. Okay, about diagnosis. So, I repeatedly say the life cycle is most important component. It's very important. And if possible, based on the background information of a life cycle, we should decide something diagnostic method. If possible, it should be non-invasive implementation. Next. Yeah, for example, if we can see like these 6 life cycles, and one more click. Yeah, as you can see, these 6 species of parasites, in their life cycle, all the parasites lay their eggs and then pass through the people's intestinal tract and then release into nature by defecation. So it means without making some invasive methods, if we can investigate the human feces and if we can check the eggs, the offspring of the parasite, because some of the parasites, they do not lay egg but give a birth of the parasite larva, then we can diagnose this perfectly for the Hermes disease. And next. And because as you can see, I collected some pictures of the parasitic eggs. As you can see, so depends on the species, they have a different shape of the eggs. So if we can understand the shape of each parasite, and then if we can distinguish the parasitic egg from any other parasitic egg and also some pseudoparasites inside the feces, then we can do the diagnosis as well. And of course, now, as Professor Han did, we can use something other methods like a serological test and also PCR or something other methods. Next. Yeah. And also, this one is like a malaria parasite. This one make their child, like an offspring, inside the bloodstream. So it means to detect this kind of parasite, which are impacted inside the human bloodstream or something, what was it? Yeah, anyway, inside the vascular system, they made their offspring, so-called microfilaria, into bloodstream, so we have to check it. Next. Yeah. So making and complete life cycle is very important to diagnostic matters as well. And next. And also, of course, we can use a pathological sections or some endoscopy or radiological reactions. Next. And the treatment is we can show one more. Simply we can use these kinds of products as well. But in here, I distinguish as like this. Nematodes for these drugs and cestodes and trematodes plus quantum. Of course, we can use something others, but anyway, everything should be distinguished with these two groups. It's because they belongs to different phylum. As like, when we face some mosquitoes or flies, of course we can physically crush them and kill it, but of course we can use something other methods like insecticide to kill it. But what happens if you spray insecticide to your friends, they die? Maybe not. It's because the insects and human, we are belongs to independent phylum, so it means taxonomically we are little bit far. So with this taxonomic importance, we can use these drugs for killing parasites. So because we are different with the nematodes and cestodes and trematodes, so if we consume these kinds of parasiticide, but we are not killed by the drugs, because we are okay, but for these drugs can affect to parasites. And of course, these two groups, they are also a little bit far, so plasquantel cannot affect to nematodes. So it's because of the taxonomic differences. And next. Okay, we are almost gone. Almost the last part, prevention and control. So I also already said several times, and I need to say one more time about the life cycle. If we can understand this life cycle, so for example, here is water. As you can see, the snail is acting as an intermediate host of these parasites, and then because of the parasites make some lava stays here, grass, and this sheep and maybe cow eat grass again and then impact again. So to control and prevent this parasitic disease, one more click. We can consider like these kind of factors. Like if we can use anti-helminthic drugs to host, and then we can kill the parasite inside this one, and then we stop to expel the eggs, or we can prohibit these pieces of the animals can attach to the water system. Or we can kill all the snails to cut off this life cycle, and of course we can prevent to impact from these parasites for these animals by do not make them consume the impaction source. Okay, next. Yeah, same thing possible to use for human as well. Okay, going some more. Okay. So based on this life cycle, we can understand people can impact with the human drinks unfiltered water containing copepos with the L3 lava. So it means people they can impact by consuming low fish frog and also water with the copepos. So it means if we can make people do not drink unfiltered water, then we can make other people do not impact again with these parasites. And also, do not put the impacted body to water, because this, unlike with the other parasites which I explained in the front pages, these parasites can release their offspring by exposing some wound in here, and then the parasitic larvae is released into water. So if we find the people and then if we just cure the people from the parasites and then do not make them put their body into the water, then we can stop its life cycle again. So life cycle is very important. So everything I explain in this time, in this place, is actually mostly related about the life cycle and then how we could understand it. Yeah, next. So conclusion, helminthes are include a lot kinds of parasite groups. So they include a lot of phylums, and depends on taxa. Everything is different, and helminth infections have been decreased to date, but still exist. And to understand this disease and do some act against the disease, we have to understand the life cycle.
Life cycle is actually everything. Okay, the next.
It's the last slide. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Choi. Next session, we move to Q&A session. It's such interesting information, and we know that in Indonesia we have a lot of cases of helminthiasis, such as schistosomiasis. We have one province that endemic schistosomiasis in Central Sulawesi province. So maybe from the audience in here or in Zoom meeting, you can ask the question about helminthiasis or about helminth. Anyone? Okay, in the maybe the committee can help me to give the microphone. Mention your name. You can stand up.
Ya, sebelumnya pakai bahasa Indonesia saja ya, Bu.
Oke, silahkan.
Sebelumnya terima kasih kepada Profesor Choi dan Bu Nisa atas kesempatannya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Febriana Rahmawati dari Peminatan Epidemiologi dan Penyakit Tropik 2023. Saya izin bertanya, Bu, untuk kan di Indonesia sendiri ada penyakit sistemiosis. Nah, apakah sistemiosis kan hanya ada di Sulawesi. Nah, apakah sistemiosis ini bisa menyebar ke provinsi lain dengan host keong yang sama dan juga penyebarannya dari orang yang terinfeksi seperti itu, Bu? Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih. Siapa tadi namanya?
Febri, Bu.
Febri, okay. Thank you, Febri. She asked that in Indonesia we have schistosomiasis in Sulawesi, and she asked that the disease can spread in other province or other area by the host or maybe by the patient. Maybe they will move to other area in Indonesia, especially schistosomiasis can spread in other areas.
So she's asking about the possibility.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I don't know well about the schistosomiasis in Indonesia, but at least schistosomia was how to say? So it was made as some endemic area in central Sulawesi. It means I explained about the life cycle. The life cycle should be complete by when all the components are equipped. So it means in the Sulawesi, maybe there's some snail species, snail intermediate species that exist which are suitable host for cystosomes, and I don't know, it was just exist for a long time ago or just coming from impacted by something other foreigner or some imported animal. But anyway, because in Central Sulawesi was happened that kinds of event because every kinds of components are equipped. So if we considering about the possibility, then we have to think about its components. So near around the area, if there's some snail species which are suitable for cytogens, and then if there's some people can affect that area, then of course it's possible to spread it. But in these cases, I also wondered because as I understood, in Sulawesi there are a lot of animals which are available to act as another definitive host instead of human. So it means in nature, without human, the environment may include that kind of components already. So the issue is a snail. So depends on snail distribution, we can evaluate there's some possibility or not. And most of the cases, the kind of snails are a little bit moving. Just quite recently, one paper said like migratory birds, they can spread the snails or some virus by attaching the snail onto their feather, and then they can move it from this area to another. So it means in central slice, if there is some suitable host of snails available, it means I think it's quite easy to spread the snails, and then only one thing we should care is a patient control. So if we lost any patient to release their sesame eggs into the environment, we can face again the kinds of event in here.
Oke, Febri, bisa dipahami atau ada feedback? Oke, maybe any feedback? You can, understand? Oke, thank you. Jadi kalau untuk schistosomiasis memang poin utamanya ada pada keong. Nah di Sulawesi memang jenis keongnya memang ada tersendiri dan persebarannya atau penularannya ya dari keong itu. Jadi distribusinya selama keong di Sulawesi itu masih tinggi gitu ya, maka penyebaran penyakitnya juga masih ada di sana. Gitu. Okay, any question for other participants? Okay, Zafar ya. Okay.
Yes, thank you for the times. Sebelumnya mohon maaf, apakah saya boleh bertanya?
Oke, boleh, silahkan. Oke.
Saya izin bertanya sebelumnya kepada Profesor C untuk infeksi cacing pada tubuh manusia, kan manusia punya mekanisme pertahanan diri begitu. Seperti kayak misalkan contohnya asam lambung. Nah, kalau misalkan cacingnya masuk, katakanlah melalui makanan, melalui ikan yang seperti tadi dijelaskan, cacingnya masuk ke perut, kemudian kan pasti lewat lambung untuk sampai ke usus. Nah, apakah cacing tersebut itu bisa melewati asam lambung yang kita tahu sebenarnya asam lambung itu kan bersifat acid gitu, jadi. Nah, apakah cacing punya mekanisme yang dapat menahan tersebut? Dan ada juga pula yang cacing yang bisa yang menyebar ke seluruh tubuh, misalkan sampai ke otak dan sampai ke segala bagian tubuh kita.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih Zafar. Zafar asked that in a human body we have like some barrier like maybe gastric acid, like how the helminth can pass the gastric acid and then they can infection in human body, and then Zafar asks, so the first question is how they can pass the gastric acid, and then the second, how about the helminth that can move in all the body, like maybe like cysticercosis, how they can move in organ and then they can infectious to the body?
Yeah. Well, it's quite difficult to explain at once because it also included in my talk because as I told you, the parasite, the Hermesis is a composition of a lot of other taxa. So depends on taxa, the mechanism is different. But for example, the nematodes, like ascaris, hookworms, whatever others, the hookworms, they are penetrated uh, by skin, impacted by skin and then coming into the intestinal organs by passing through. So they use their teeth and they also use an enzyme to melt down the skin or tissue. So that's why that kinds of parasites make something inflammatory problem on human skin. And also the nematodes, their body was composed with a cuticle, so-called cuticle. It's likely a chitin of the arthropod body. So it's flexible and then it looks like a soft, but anyway, it's like a kind of a vinyl cover. So they can protect it, their body from the other gastric acid or some other digestive enzymes so they can survive even inside there. So, for example, it's the same thing happened with the maggots or fly. So sometimes we can see maggots in the wound with some boiling soup. It looks very dirty and looks very chaotic, but anyway, they're living inside without any problems. Whenever we collect it from the soup, and if we wash it, their body is looks just clean because their body chitins protect everything from outside, and that kinds of barriers can protect their body from other chemicals like that. So if we put nematode worms inside to 70% ethyl alcohol directly, usually they are survive inside there several minutes more because the chitins and cuticle, they can protect the acid as well, acid and alcohol as well. And about the cystic circus. So it also depends on person. I told you the hookworm, they penetrate by the enzymes. So depends on the parasite species. They use some you know, to use different chemicals. So at least that they can um, digest some tissues of the human organs. But for cystic circus they are hatching from eggs from the intestine, the upper part of the intestine, and they passing through the mucus of the intestines, and then they penetrate into the vascular system. So they can go everywhere based on the vascular system going. So it means they can go everywhere. So that's what it's the reason why they make the kinds of cystic surfaces in every areas of the body. And except that, so there's some other premises called the natostome spargano, and even some hugum infections and cystosomes. They everything they use enzymes.
Oke, Zafar. Jadi di graf ya, jadi pada cacing telur itu punya lapisan kutikula, kitin sorry, yang dia bisa menembus dan tahan asam. Dan beberapa jenis spesies helminth pun punya define mekanisme sendiri-sendiri untuk bisa masuk ke dalam tubuh manusia. Nah, kalau sistiserkosis memang tadi yang Jafar bilang bahwa larva yang jalan-jalan itu it's a stage of larvae, sistiserkosis not the eggs. Ya, jadi itu adalah larva yang dia memang moving jalan-jalan, tapi kalau telur biasanya dia akan settle pada intestinal dan dia punya tadi lapisan yang kuat tadi. Ada lagi Jafar yang mungkin mau ditanyakan? Cukup? Oke. Oh, Bu, Dr. Martini maybe as
thank you. It is my question, general question, I think, about the helminths. This is a program, yeah, to prevent infected helminth to the human. We have a program from the health authority, yeah, especially to our children. Every 6 months, they give with the drug, yeah, from the program. So about this, the children can not infected by the helminth. Yeah, all of the helminth can not infected again because they already got yeah, the drug, yeah, from the program. Yeah, that's all my question.
Oke, jadi tadi intinya kalau di kita ada 6 bulan diberikan obat, setiap 6 bulan. Lalu untuk pertanyaannya Ibu?
Yeah, they can free, free, not get the
not
disease, yeah,
infection.
from the helminths. Yeah.
So in in Indonesia we have a program how to medicine to give the drug of the helminth to the children. The Dr. Martinez, it will be reinfection if the children got the drugs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very important question. So even in my case, and then even Dr. John, he visited Cameroon several years ago to do similar work to eradicate parasites in that area in Africa, Cameroon. But the issue is always happen because, yeah, fortunately, unlike with the malaria parasites, there's a not. Of course, some cases happen, but there's a not much drug resistance against helminth parasites. So it means the drugs work very well. But the issue is that they can be impacted again. So because of parasites, they have a systems that then they can develop their skill to avoid the immune systems and the even human impacted once before about parasites, if they have some antibodies, but just imagine at the past, if my in my house, if there is some very big, around the 30 meters of a dinosaur was embedded inside my house, so I wanted to avoid from that event, so I put some spines or something small dog in front of my house. So can I protected the dinosaurs coming inside my house with the kinds of systems? Of course not. Because parasites, especially helminths, they have a physical. So they just to avoid the immune system by their body and movement. So we cannot stop them to impact again. So issue on the mass drug administration is we have to consider and then manage the environment itself to cut off the life cycle. So just the drug itself, we cannot make it. So for example, in Korea, now the soil transmitted helminths is just decreased a lot, and now it's almost eradicated. So it's not easy to find out any soil transmitted helminths in Korea now. It's because people do not use their feces for the fertilizer for the grasses. So there's no any way of the helminths coming into the human food. So we successfully cut off, and then we built up and our facilities like water system and then the toilet system, everything. So in Korea now the parasites are very difficult to live. But the issue I work with the Korean CDC, and then there's a big problem with another parasite, which are impacted by low fish consumption. It's actually related with the culture, and of course the parasites are easy to kill by parasiticide, but without changing human behavior, we cannot stop them. Korean CDC also spread a lot of drugs against that lesion to cure all the patients. But what happened? The patients just think like, okay, our government care me a lot. It's very nice. So if they just think like, even I can impact again, maybe they will cure again. So infection happen. Infection again happens. So same with it. We have to think about the life cycle, and then we have to build up facilities to avoid the reinfection, and also need to educate the patient about the prevention matters, how you cannot impact again. So without these things, reinfection is just common in all over the world.
Okay, Dr. Martin, any feedback?
Yeah. So maybe you have a recommendation to prevent the helminth infection to the human. Yeah. And many of kind of helminth can prevent to the people. So what is it? How to prevent, and then what the kind of the drug to consume maybe to prevent the all any helminths can invade to our body.
Yeah, of course. As I mentioned in my talk, the anti-helminthic drugs is just common, and whatever we use, we can kill it, especially for nematodes related with the soil transmitted helminthes. Always the problem is platyhelminthes, including cestodes and trematodes. But the issue is cestodes and trematodes, usually they are gone with the indirect life cycle, which need the additional intermediate host. But for nematodes, they are usually keep going with the direct life cycle. So it means even we cut off some life cycle space, if there some others keep going in that area, always there's some possibility to impact again. So always it's recommendable to, we have to care about the facility first. But I know it's quite difficult because of the built up facility needs a huge amount of money. So we have to, for example, we have to prohibit people to use again their feces, or do not make them defecate in the nature. Because I work with Dr. John in Cameroon, and we did some survey for the school children, and they said, because we're concerning about the systems which I explained, because they are impacted by water system, by penetrate by the cystosome lobby. But many of the children, they answered like, I love to enjoy swimming near area, and then almost 30% of children answered as like, I I openly defecate in the outside, so not in toilet. So education is also very important matter, but it's quite difficult, and there needs a lot of efforts needed. It's quite difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the point is, beside the medication, we must prove the education to how to prevent in our society abroad. Okay, and also facility. Yeah, I agree with it. Okay, I think the time is over. So thank you very much, Prof. Choi, and thank you very much to the all participants. That a lot of question is a great, and we can get a conclusion that if we want to succeed prevention or control the helminth, we must know the life cycle of the parasite. So we can cut off the life cycle, and so we can stop the infection to the human, and especially to the education we must prove to then the preventive of the helmintiasis we can decrease as soon as possible. Okay, thank you, Professor, and thank you for all the participants. And I'm sorry if any mistakes of this section. And thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to the master ceremony.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Choi Songjun for the amazing talk, and also thank you to Mrs. Nisa for moderating us in the second lecture. Let's give a round of applause.
Like we do in the first lecture, we would like to give an appreciation from Professor Choi. We have a certificate for our speaker and moderator today, and I would like to ask the committee to take a picture. Okay, and the second certificate goes to our moderator, Mrs. Nisa Kusariana.
Thank you so much for Professor Choi Songjun and Mrs. Nisa.
Please
Next
stay
up,
on the stage.
Professor Choi Songjun, you can stay on the stage. Yeah. I would like to invite Dr. Martini, Dr. Martini MPH to give a souvenir to Professor Choi Songjun. And for the committee in charge, please take a photo.
Okay, thank you, Professor Choi. And next, please welcome to the stage Dr. Jun Ho Jong to receive the certificate of appreciation as our microscopic instructor for our next offline session.
I would like to invite Dr. Martini MPH to come on the stage to give a souvenir to Dr. Jun Ho Jong. Okay, once again, thank you so much. You may return to your seat.
Okay, after the insightful presentation from Professor Han Jin Hee and Professor Choi Sung Jun, we're going to have something.
What is that, Shiva?
It's a poster
session.
So you may prepare what you need, maybe your phone and a stable internet for accessing the link. As you may see, okay.
For the committee,
for the
maybe you can share on the screen.
Okay. As you may see, the link is already on the screen, and for the participants who have joined us on the Zoom, the link will be shared in the chat box. And this post test is held for
10 minutes, so
only.
yeah. Okay, the post test will be held for 10 minutes, so you may start now. Good luck.
Good luck.
Okay, while waiting for the post-test, we would like to announce something special.
Okay, what's that something special, Shiva?
This is maybe what the participants waiting for.
Yeah. As we said earlier that we have some prizes. So, what do you want to announce, Shiva?
I want to announce the best participants for the online participants first.
Yes, that's right. And the best online participant goes to...
Congratulations to Raisha Nuranindita. And you may redeem the prize by contacting Ellen Sendekia.
Let's give a round of applause. Yes, once again, congratulations. And once again, we would like to thank all of our participants who have joined us online and on site.
And we would like to apologize if there were any misspoken things from us during this event.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And for the online participants, you may finish filling the post-test link, and then after that, you may leave the room. And for the offline participants, we will have a break time after filling the post-test link, and the break time is until 1 p.m. So
Okay. And after the lunch break, I would like to please ask the offline participants to go to the laboratory on the third floor. The hands-on practice will be conducted at the teaching lab.
yeah, I also want to remind the participants again that the committee has divided the participants offline into 14 groups, group number 1 to 14, and each group will be provided with a microscope in the laboratory, and please arrange yourself and your group accordingly. Once again, I'm Natania Putri Nafiri and my partner.
And I'm Shifaya Kusuma.
Thank you so much for today and have a nice day. I would like to invite